When a loyal man is hurt, one of the first and most profound changes is his withdrawal of emotional investment. Loyalty for such a man is not a fleeting characteristic or a casual trait. It is deeply rooted in his character, a core part of who he is. He invests himself wholeheartedly in the people he cares about, giving his time, attention, and trust without reservation. But when that loyalty is betrayed or hurt, it shakes something fundamental within him, prompting a natural response to retreat emotionally. This withdrawal doesn't happen out of anger or revenge. Instead, it is often a means of self-preservation. A loyal man pours his heart into his relationships, and being hurt can feel like a betrayal of that sacred trust. It's not just about the pain of the moment, it's the realization that someone he believed in, someone he thought was deserving of his faith and commitment, has broken that bond. This realization can leave him questioning not only the relationship, but also his ability to judge character. To protect himself from further damage, he begins to withdraw, creating a space where he can heal and reassess. For many loyal men, emotional investment is not a casual endeavor. They don't form shallow connections or give their loyalty lightly. Instead, they carefully cultivate relationships built on mutual respect, understanding, and care. This depth of investment makes the hurt even more significant. It's not just about losing a connection, it's about feeling like a part of themselves has been disregarded or devalued. To cope, they often retreat into themselves, pulling back their emotional energy to safeguard what remains of their spirit. This withdrawal can be confusing or even painful for those around him. People who have come to rely on his consistent presence and unwavering support may suddenly feel a void where his warmth once was. They may mistake his retreat for coldness or apathy when, in reality, it is a reflection of his inner struggle. The loyal man isn't trying to punish anyone, he's trying to make sense of the hurt while finding a way to protect himself from further harm. During this period of withdrawal, he may appear distant or preoccupied. It's not uncommon for him to put up walls, shielding his emotions from prying eyes. This protective stance is a way to prevent further vulnerability. After all, if someone he trusted deeply could hurt him, who else might do the same? By pulling back, he's creating a safe space where he can process his emotions, understand what went wrong, and decide how to move forward. For the loyal man, this process is not a sign of weakness but of strength. It takes courage to step back and evaluate the relationships in his life. He's not one to give up on people easily, but he also recognizes that his emotional energy is precious and cannot be wasted on those who don't value it. His withdrawal is a way of saying, I need to heal, and I need to decide if this relationship is worth continuing. This period of emotional withdrawal can also serve as a time of growth. The loyal man uses this space to reflect on himself, his values, and his boundaries. He asks difficult questions: what allowed this hurt to happen? Were there red flags he ignored? How can he ensure that his loyalty isn't misplaced in the future? These reflections are not about closing himself off to the world, but about learning how to protect his heart while remaining true to his character. Ultimately, the loyal man's withdrawal is an act of self-respect. It's a way of honoring his emotions and acknowledging the depth of his pain. While it may take time for him to open up again, this period of withdrawal allows him to rebuild his sense of trust and confidence. It's a reminder that his loyalty is a gift, one that should be cherished and reciprocated by those who truly value him. When a loyal man experiences hurt, one of the most profound impacts is on his ability to trust. Trust is not something he gives lightly, it is earned through consistent actions, mutual respect, and a deep sense of connection. For a man who values loyalty, trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. So when that trust is betrayed, it feels like the ground beneath him has shifted, leaving him questioning not just the person who hurt him, but also his own ability to judge character. This questioning often begins as an internal struggle. A loyal man tends to reflect deeply on his actions and decisions, trying to understand where things went wrong. Did he misread the person's intentions? Was he too open, too giving, too vulnerable? These questions can spiral into self-doubt, making him feel as though he failed to protect himself from harm. The pain of betrayal isn't just about the actions of another, it's about the damage done to his sense of security and discernment. This period of reassessment is not about becoming bitter or cynical, but about recalibrating his approach to trust. A loyal man doesn't want to close himself off to the world. He values meaningful connections and believes in the goodness of people. However, being hurt forces him to reevaluate the criteria he uses to place his trust. He begins to look more closely at actions rather than words, at consistency rather than charm. He learns to seek authenticity and to be cautious with those who don't demonstrate it. This shift in perspective can make him seem guarded to those around him. People who once experienced his open-hearted nature may notice that he's more reserved, less quick to share his thoughts or feelings. This isn't a sign that he no longer cares, it's a sign that he's learning to protect himself. He's building boundaries not to keep people out entirely, but to ensure that only those who are truly deserving of his trust can cross them. For a loyal man, trust is sacred. It's not a casual agreement, but a bond that ties him deeply to others. When that bond is broken, he doesn't simply move on or pretend it didn't happen. He carries the weight of it, often replaying moments in his mind, trying to make sense of the betrayal. This process, though painful, is a necessary step toward healing. It allows him to learn from the experience and to approach future relationships with a clearer sense of what he needs and deserves. Over time, this reassessment can lead to growth. A loyal man who has been hurt learns to value his trust more highly. He no longer gives it away freely, but reserves it for those who have proven themselves worthy. This doesn't mean he becomes unkind or suspicious. It means he becomes discerning. He understands that his loyalty is a precious gift, one that should only be shared with those who will honor and protect it. This new perspective can also deepen his appreciation for the relationships that withstand the test of time. When he finds people who are genuine, consistent, and trustworthy, he values them even more. The hurt he experienced serves as a reminder of how rare and precious true loyalty is. It motivates him to nurture these connections, to invest in them fully, and to cherish the mutual trust they represent. But the journey to this place of growth and clarity is not easy. It requires the loyal man to confront his pain, to acknowledge the betrayal, and to rebuild his sense of trust step by step. It requires patience, self-compassion, and the courage to remain open despite the risk of being hurt again. And through it all, he remains true to himself, refusing to let one person's actions change the essence of who he is. By reassessing his trust in others, the loyal man not only protects himself, but also sets a higher standard for the relationships in his life. He becomes stronger, wiser, and more grounded in his values. And while the scars of betrayal may never fully fade, they become a testament to his resilience and his unwavering commitment to being the kind of person who values loyalty, trust, and integrity above all else. When a loyal man is hurt, he often channels his pain into personal growth rather than allowing it to consume him. Pain is a powerful force. It can break a person, or it can build him into something stronger. For a man who values loyalty and integrity, hurt doesn't just leave a scar, it leaves lessons, and those lessons become the foundation for his evolution. A loyal man understands that wallowing in pain doesn't serve him. While he may feel the sting of betrayal deeply, he recognizes that staying in a place of hurt only gives more power to the person who caused it. Instead, he chooses to reclaim that power by focusing on his growth. He doesn't ignore the pain or suppress it. Rather, he confronts it, allowing it to teach him about himself, his relationships, and his boundaries. In the quiet moments of reflection, he begins to see the ways in which this hurt can be transformed into a catalyst for change. Perhaps he realizes that he has been too forgiving, too willing to overlook red flags for the sake of preserving peace. Or maybe he learns that he needs to communicate his needs and expectations more clearly in relationships. Whatever the lessons may be, he takes them to heart, using them as tools to refine his character and strengthen his resolve. This journey of growth isn't linear. There are days when the pain feels overwhelming, when the betrayal plays over and over in his mind, but even on those days, he pushes forward, reminding himself that every step he takes toward healing is a step away from the person or situation that hurt him. He leans into his inner strength, finding solace in the knowledge that he has the ability to rise above the pain and emerge stronger on the other side. As he grows, he starts to see the world differently. The hurt changes his perspective, making him more aware of the complexities of human relationships. He gains a deeper understanding of vulnerability, trust, and loyalty, not just in others, but within himself. He learns to recognize his worth and to demand the same level of respect and commitment that he gives so freely to others. This isn't about becoming selfish or closed off. It's about setting boundaries that protect his heart while still allowing him to connect with others authentically. The process of channeling pain into growth also leads to a renewed sense of purpose. The loyal man begins to ask himself what kind of person he wants to be in the face of adversity. Does he want to become bitter, letting the hurt define him? Or does he want to use it as fuel to become better, stronger, and more resilient? For a man grounded in loyalty and integrity, the answer is clear. He chooses to rise, to turn his pain into a source of strength, and to use his experiences to guide him toward a brighter future. Through this growth, he becomes an inspiration to those around him. His ability to transform hurt into healing, to take betrayal and turn it into wisdom, sets an example of resilience and grace. People begin to see him not as a victim of his circumstances, but as a victor over them. His strength becomes a beacon, showing others that it's possible to overcome even the deepest wounds with courage and determination. Ultimately, channeling his pain into growth allows the loyal man to reclaim his sense of self. He no longer defines himself by the hurt he has experienced, but by the strength he has gained from it. He becomes more self-assured, more confident in his ability to navigate relationships, and more determined to surround himself with people who value and respect his loyalty. This growth doesn't erase the pain or make it disappear, but it gives it meaning. It turns something that could have been purely destructive into a foundation for something greater. And in doing so, the loyal man proves to himself and to the world that even in the face of hurt, he can rise above, becoming not just a survivor, but a man transformed by his journey. When a loyal man is hurt, one of the most significant changes he undergoes is becoming more cautious about where he places his loyalty. Loyalty is not a trivial trait for him. It is a deeply ingrained part of his character, something he gives only to those he believes are deserving of it. But when that trust and devotion are betrayed, he is forced to reconsider how freely he shares this precious gift. At first, this shift can feel disorienting. A loyal man often sees his commitment to others as a reflection of his own integrity, not dependent on their actions, but on his values. So when he's hurt, it challenges his sense of identity. Was his loyalty misplaced? Did he misjudge the situation or the person involved? These questions swirl in his mind, prompting him to examine not only the relationship that caused the hurt, but also his broader approach to loyalty. This self-reflection often leads to a powerful realization: loyalty, while virtuous, must be guarded. It cannot be given indiscriminately or without consideration for whether the other person values and reciprocates it. A loyal man learns through his pain that loyalty is not a one-sided endeavor. It requires mutual respect, trust, and effort. This understanding shifts the way he navigates relationships moving forward. He begins to set higher standards for those he allows into his inner circle. He no longer feels obligated to maintain connections with people who take his loyalty for granted or fail to honor it. This doesn't mean he becomes cold or distant. Rather, he becomes discerning. He looks for actions, not just words, to determine whether someone is truly deserving of his commitment. Consistency, respect, and integrity become the benchmarks by which he measures the relationships in his life. This newfound caution doesn't diminish his capacity for loyalty. In fact, it enhances it. By being more selective about where he places his loyalty, the loyal man ensures that it goes to people and situations that align with his values. He recognizes that his loyalty is a gift, one that should be treasured and reciprocated, not exploited or taken lightly. This perspective allows him to build stronger, more meaningful connections with those who truly appreciate his dedication. The loyal man also becomes more aware of his own needs and boundaries. In the past, he may have prioritized others to the point of neglecting himself, believing that loyalty meant enduring mistreatment or ignoring his own well-being. But being hurt teaches him that true loyalty cannot come at the expense of his self-respect. He learns to advocate for himself, to set boundaries that protect his emotional health, and to walk away from relationships that do not honor his worth. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process, one that requires the loyal man to confront his pain, reflect on his experiences, and make intentional changes in how he approaches loyalty. There are moments of doubt and vulnerability, times when he questions whether he's being too guarded or too demanding. But through it all, he remains committed to honoring himself and the values that define him. Over time, this cautious approach to loyalty begins to feel empowering. The loyal man no longer feels drained or taken advantage of in his relationships. Instead, he experiences the joy of connections built on mutual respect and understanding. He finds peace in knowing that his loyalty is given to those who truly deserve it, and he feels a renewed sense of confidence in his ability to navigate relationships with wisdom and integrity. Ultimately, becoming more selective about his loyalty allows the loyal man to protect his heart while remaining true to himself. He doesn't let the pain of betrayal change the essence of who he is. Instead, he uses it as a lesson to refine his approach to relationships. By guarding his loyalty more carefully, he ensures that it remains a source of strength and integrity, a testament to the depth of his character and the wisdom he has gained through his journey. When a loyal man is hurt, one of the most profound changes is how he begins to view relationships in general. Loyalty for him is not just about sticking by someone no matter the circumstances. It is about mutual respect, trust, and the expectation that his devotion will be reciprocated in kind. But once that loyalty is betrayed, it forces him to reconsider what he needs from a relationship and what he deserves in return. This shift doesn't happen immediately, but over time, he begins to redefine what it means to be in a truly fulfilling and reciprocal connection. For a loyal man, relationships are built on the premise of mutual support and understanding. He is the kind of person who will go the extra mile for those he cares about, offering his unwavering commitment and support in times of need. However, when he is hurt, especially by someone he trusted deeply, he starts to reevaluate the foundation of that connection. What he once thought was a balanced, give and take dynamic might have actually been one-sided. He may begin to realize that the loyalty he offered wasn't returned with the same level of commitment or respect. This realization doesn't just break his heart, it challenges his entire perspective on what relationships should be. This reassessment doesn't mean that he abandons his belief in loyalty. Instead, it makes him more discerning. He begins to understand that not every relationship is meant to last, and not every connection is built on solid ground. He begins to question if he has been giving too much of himself to people who weren't truly deserving or who didn't value the depth of his loyalty. Over time, he learns to see relationships through a new lens, understanding that love, respect, and loyalty are not only about giving but also about receiving in return. The loyal man also starts to recognize the importance of self-respect within relationships. In the past, he might have overlooked his own needs in the name of loyalty, sacrificing his own happiness for the sake of others. But after being hurt, he realizes that true loyalty isn't about putting others before himself to the point of self-neglect. Instead, he learns that healthy relationships require balance, where both parties give and take, support and challenge each other, and respect each other's boundaries. He begins to appreciate that his loyalty is a gift that should be treated with care, and he no longer feels the need to give it to anyone who doesn't show a similar level of commitment. This transformation leads him to set clearer boundaries. He becomes more aware of his emotional needs and the importance of maintaining his own well-being. No longer will he ignore the red flags or tolerate behavior that undermines his worth. Instead, he learns to speak up, to set boundaries that honor both himself and his relationships, and to walk away from situations that no longer serve him. This doesn't mean he becomes guarded or closed off to new relationships. It simply means he is more intentional in choosing who to invest his time and energy in. As he continues to grow, he finds himself in healthier, more balanced relationships. He surrounds himself with people who value him, who see his loyalty as a precious gift and are willing to reciprocate it in meaningful ways. This shift in perspective brings him a deeper sense of peace, knowing that he no longer has to sacrifice his own needs for the sake of others. He learns to give his loyalty to those who are equally dedicated to nurturing and respecting the connection. Through this transformation, the loyal man's understanding of relationships matures. He no longer clings to the notion that loyalty means blind devotion at any cost. Instead, he understands that true loyalty is rooted in mutual respect, shared values, and a commitment to supporting one another. He learns that relationships thrive when both people are willing to give and receive, to be vulnerable and honest, and to invest in each other's growth. This understanding brings him greater satisfaction in his relationships, as he feels more valued and supported in return. Ultimately, the loyal man's journey through hurt leads him to a place of greater clarity about what he wants and needs from those closest to him. He understands that loyalty, when given freely and reciprocated, is a beautiful and powerful force. And while he may have been hurt in the past, he no longer allows that pain to define his future relationships. Instead, he uses it as a stepping stone toward healthier, more fulfilling connections where loyalty is not just about what he gives, but also about what he gives, but also about what he receives in return. When a loyal man is hurt, the experience often leads him to reassess how he invests his emotional energy. Loyalty is not just about being steadfast and true, it's about aligning your heart with those who show you the same commitment and respect in return. When that trust is broken, it forces him to confront the reality that not every person is capable of giving back the same level of dedication, and not every relationship is meant to last forever. This painful realization doesn't only challenge him emotionally, it reshapes the way he views relationships and how he chooses to engage with others moving forward. The hurt caused by betrayal brings clarity, albeit through pain. A loyal man often gives his heart freely without expecting anything in return because he believes in the power of love, connection, and mutual respect. But once hurt, he learns that love and loyalty require reciprocity. He begins to understand that true connection is not about giving endlessly without being appreciated, but about fostering a mutual bond where both people are invested and supportive of one another's growth and happiness. This awareness doesn't come easily. The hurt and disappointment of being betrayed force him to re-examine his values, his boundaries, and the kind of relationships he truly wants to cultivate. He starts to recognize that while loyalty is an admirable trait, It should not be a one-sided commitment. He can no longer afford to give without receiving the same level of respect and dedication. This doesn't mean he stops being loyal, but it means he becomes more discerning about where he directs his loyalty and who he allows into his inner circle. The loyal man learns to value his own emotional energy. In the past, he may have given freely without hesitation, often neglecting his own needs in favor of others. But after being hurt, he becomes more mindful of how he invests his emotional resources. He realizes that his loyalty is precious and that he deserves to receive the same level of commitment and respect that he so willingly gives. This new perspective helps him avoid the trap of self-sacrifice, where his needs are constantly put on the back burner in favor of others. He learns to protect his emotional well-being by setting clear boundaries and by recognizing when a relationship is no longer serving him. This change in mindset also brings about a transformation in how he views the concept of loyalty itself. He no longer sees loyalty as a mere obligation, but as a bond that must be nurtured and protected by both parties. True loyalty, in his eyes, is about both people being fully committed to each other, supporting one another through both the good times and the bad. He learns that loyalty cannot be demanded or expected, it must be earned and given willingly. And in order for that to happen, both individuals must show up in the relationship, contributing to its growth and well-being. The loyal man's experience of hurt also leads him to a place of emotional resilience. While the betrayal initially shakes him to his core, over time he learns that he is stronger than the hurt. He discovers that while he cannot control the actions of others, he has the power to choose how he responds to them. He no longer allows the actions of others to define his self-worth or his sense of security. Instead, he takes control of his emotional life, focusing on what he can control: his actions, his choices, and his ability to grow from the experience. This newfound emotional resilience doesn't mean he becomes numb or closed off to future relationships. On the contrary, it means that he learns to approach relationships with a sense of awareness and clarity. He understands that trust and loyalty are not automatic but must be built and maintained over time. He becomes more careful in choosing who to invest his energy in, focusing on people who show a genuine commitment to him and who reciprocate the loyalty he gives. Through this process, the loyal man becomes more self-assured. He no longer feels the need to prove his loyalty to anyone who doesn't deserve it. He understands his own worth and the value of the connections he chooses to nurture. He approaches relationships with a greater sense of purpose and intention, seeking out those who share his values and who are willing to invest in the bond they share. In the end, the loyal man's journey through hurt leads him to a place of greater emotional intelligence. He learns that loyalty is not about blindly giving without expectation, but about finding a balance where both people give and receive in equal measure. He understands that loyalty, when shared with the right people, becomes a source of strength and growth, and that he deserves to have relationships that reflect this mutual respect and commitment. And though the pain of betrayal may always linger in the background, it no longer defines him. Instead, it becomes a part of his story, a story of resilience, growth, and the wisdom gained through understanding his own worth.